Here at Be Freaking Awesome, we believe that life is too short to be anything less than extraordinary. Join us as we explore what it means to live authentically, grow continuously, and have a blast while doing it. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Be Freaking Awesome. I'm one of your hosts, Sami here with Angela Belford. And today we are going to be talking about team trainings, the benefits, the pros, the cons, our approach, all of those things.
Wah, wah. Team training sound boring, Sami. I think we should talk about the fact that people, if you ask people, what is the number one problem you have at work? Communication. What is the number one problem you have in your marriage? Communication. What is the number one problem you have in relationships? Communication. I'm not saying that's true, but I am saying that let's talk about the problem that team training is going to solve, because that's just the delivery, right?
It is true. It's the tool to help address some of the problems. It's not even the solution, though. It's just like the tool that helps you try to address whatever problems you're facing.
But in the name of, this is kind of the time of year where people are like, oh, I got to get my CEs in and I got to get I'm planning for next year. What's our professional development plan for next year? That sort of thing. They do start to think about trainings in that way. What?
It's also the time of year people are starting to think about, like, what are my goals for next year? And what are the things I want to do as a person and as a company? And my favorite, air quotes, mean thing to kind of to poke holes in sometimes when somebody says, my goal for the year is to improve communication. And I say, that's amazing. What a fantastic goal. What does that mean? Because like that could mean 100 different things. So like, how are you planning on approaching that? Is your communication like a trust issue? Is it a skills issue? Is it a time and capacity issue? You know what to do. You've got the trust to do it. You just don't have the time to execute it. I don't know. Could be 100 different things. And so I remember even in college, anytime somebody says I'm going to improve communication as their platform for sorority life, it's like, that means nothing. That means nothing. Make it mean something. You got to say more words about it. Ironic.
I think that's what I just did to your thing of like, we're going to talk about team training. I'm like, no, we're not. That doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. It's like, it means something kind of, but like something. Not enough. It doesn't. It could mean too many different things.
Interesting point about knowing the problem. You actually have a pretty interesting way when people say, I have a communication problem. Like, you talk about it in a little bit different way. And I love how you talk about it. I don't know that you've shared it here on the podcast.
I don't think I have. So if you've been around us at all in life or podcast land, you know that we love to live and die by the metaphor. The metaphor is just such a perfect tool to explain so many things. And I think I have found my like favorite metaphor to explain what I do to people, what I do to them.
That's what they feel like when they sit down.
Sometimes. Communication problems in the workplace, I think, is the equivalent of having a runny nose in your business. Sometimes you have a runny nose and it is allergies, and it's just that time of year and allergies, pick up. Sometimes you have a runny nose and it's because you have a cold. Sometimes you have a runny nose and it's the flu. Sometimes you have a runny nose and it's something completely different altogether. And it's like an emotional problem that's actually coming out in all of these ways. You could have a runny nose and go take antibiotics. And if your runny nose is because of allergies, those antibiotics aren't really going to do anything for you. Maybe they'll alleviate some symptoms while you're taking it. And then you stop taking the antibiotics and like it's just going to come back. So when we talk about communication in the business world, it's the same thing as the runny nose. There's a lot of different root causes that can cause communication problems. When you bring in someone like a Sami, I can come in and help to diagnose what is the root cause of your communication problems. And then not just diagnose, but here's your treatment plan. Here's your prescription. And here's how we're going to address that to prevent it, not just to stop your runny nose right now, but to help try to prevent runny noses in the future. This is also why I don't love doing one-off trainings with teams. I much, much, much prefer to get to do a series of trainings because then we get to say, here was our prescription, here was our solution, and our skills building, if you will. And now we're going to come back after you have tried it in the real world. And we're going to say, how did it go? And we're going to ask more questions and we're going to dig in and we're going to build upon those skills. And something about coming back in a series of trainings, I think really helps to solidify those skills, build those new ruts and grooves in your brain, and to make sure that we actually address the right problem. Or yeah, okay, great. We fixed the allergies, but maybe we had the allergies and the flu. And so now we got to go address the flu part of it, whatever it might be. So that's my thing. My husband jokes with me and says I should maybe be weary of calling myself a communication doctor until I get a little bit more like degrees under my belt. I don't know. Maybe I'll just not say it in front of an attorney or someone and just call myself a communication doctor. Mm, it's a metaphor. It's fine.
Okay, so considering that a few years ago you said, "I'm not very good at networking. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this."
I
Um,
think I said I wasn't good at sales, and I thought sales was like networking. Like I thought you had to like go work the room and like sell every single person in the room, and then that was that had been some of my internal thoughts is that like to network is to be the salesperson who goes and convinces everybody or a decent number of people in the room to come buy from me. Um, I've since learned a lot of
oh,
different things, but that was what I thought it was. I thought that was what I was supposed to be doing. So yes, I definitely was like, I'm not good at that. And it's like, yeah, because that's not what you're supposed to do. That's not what anybody
but
does.
okay, because 'cause I'm like, "No, no, no, you literally told me I'm not good at networking."
Hmm.
And then I was like, "Okay," and then we went to a couple of networking events, and you're like, "Oh, this is the thing." And then you followed up, you had a different conversation where you said, "I don't think I'm good at sales." And I was like, "I hate to tell you can take every class, you can take every course. The way you get really good at sales is practice." Like, it's literally you can't learn it in a book. You can learn skills, but you gotta
Hmm.
practice, which actually sets up what the reason why you like to do your trainings. And what most trainings get wrong, to the point of the title of this, is that so often people go, "Oh, we've got this communication problem. We're going to go do a retreat. We're going to go spend 8 hours with a trainer and one and done."
Hmm.
And it is going to be
All of our
solve
problems will
all
be
of our
solved.
problems,
Yeah.
right? Solve all of our problems. Yes, we had one salad. Ta-da! We're gonna
I,
lose weight now.
well, I'm losing 100 pounds because I ate a single
I
salad.
ate a single salad, right?
I also,
Uh,
we did it. Sometimes the people will take that training and they go to that separate place and they remove themselves from your day to day, which I do think has a lot of value. Where's the application back into day to day? I think sometimes that gets missed to like you go, you have like your camp high and it's like you go to summer camp and you feel amazing and awesome and like lit on fire for Jesus and all those things. And then you go back to everyday life and you're like, back to the routine, back to exactly what I was doing before. You're like, okay, great. Is that the most helpful? Not always. Particularly if that's the only way that teams are doing training, like that's not helpful. It has a purpose. It can be beneficial. And also so is a like shorter bite-sized consumable implement today. What am I going to do with this today?
right,
Kind of
because
training.
8 hours of communication content in one day is like drinking from a fire hose, and like it's kind of
Yeah.
tiresome. And to your point, there is good value, and sometimes it's like you need to be immersed, and but when it's available to be more spaced out, I think it does get lend itself more to being able to practice. And then you have that expert coming back, and you're going to be able to ask questions again and be like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, okay, now I got some scenarios for you, lady. Like, how about this thing happened, that thing happened, and now how would we work through that?" Right?
Right. Well, and from my days working corporate, one of the things that would bother me a lot is when we would have these like retreat moments. And particularly if there's goal setting or vision casting or how is this going to look like, and everybody would get really, really excited about this new direction. And Maybe it was my team, maybe it's corporate, maybe more people if other people feel this, I'd love to hear, but my particular circumstance, we would come back and they'd be like, "Oh, well, that's not, like, really that big of a deal." Like, I know we were really, really excited about it at the retreat. I know that, like, the whole team was gonna get to help out with this goal. It's really just, like, the leader and maybe one other person who that matters for. Everybody else just needs to go back to their day-to-day operations, and it was, like it was very frustrating as somebody who loves the vision casting, and maybe maybe it's me, maybe I am more of the vision caster and less of the doer, and so then I'm like, "No, I wanna be a part. I got excited about the vision. What do you mean I don't get to be a part of it?" And so, I like that. I like the immersion. I also like let's follow up. Let's make those things happen. If we're going to dream big dreams, let's actually make them come to be real for us and not just something that we keep talking about and then we keep talking about and then we keep saying, yeah, we need to address that communication problem. Yeah, it would be nicer if, we all could figure out how to communicate better. It would be a good thing for us to have better balance between tasks and team members and time off and work life balance and all those things. But, we'll get to it eventually. Like we'll figure it out eventually. No, stop with this eventually nonsense. Let's start fixing things right now. We don't have to wait for forever.
Yeah, we definitely can't hate on the immersion because we do love a good conference and we're
Mhm.
planning some retreats ultimately.
Right.
So I think there is
It's
value in
time and
that.
place.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's an opportunity to, I think, about some of the more impactful experiences I've had were where there was some pre-work that was done. And so I imagine if like you had some of these teams that you were able to work with them quarterly for a whole year and
Hmm.
then take them and do a one-day retreat where you could be deeper and more immersive and maybe an hour and a half doesn't allow them to unpack things and you could take a whole day then and really, you know, get some really difficult conversations after you spent that first 4 sessions, and it doesn't have to be over a whole year. You could do it monthly for 4 months and then do a
Hmm.
big retreat if you wanna speed things up. And also, like, humans don't love change,
Hmm.
and we don't we need a chance to get used to it. We need to get a chance to acclimate to it. It's like when you get in the swimming pool at the first time in the season and it's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so cold." And after you've been in it for a little bit, you get adjusted to it. And so I do think that there's an element where we do have to give people an opportunity to get adjusted.
Hmm.
Um,
And then reflect. I love the opportunity at the end, especially that person who's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna change. I don't wanna change. I like my habits." And then you check in with them a year later to be like, "Hey, can we just take a moment to see, look how far you have actually come. Look where there was resistance to change, to improving skills, to learning something hard or new or whatever. You have come a long way, and I there's so much value in that reflection moment, especially to tell your brain, "Look, I survived. I survived this change. I survived this hard thing. I'm doing great at this." That big sigh into it to say, "Wow, maybe I maybe I can do this. Maybe I can just go for that eventually goal that I never really thought was possible. Look at what I've already done when I was barely even given it, half an
half an
effort."
effort. Yeah, I love that. So this is not just your theory anymore. You're actually
No.
doing this, right?
I'm a scientist. I'm experimenting. It's amazing. We're like running the show and making these things happen.
So you have a couple of clients that are already
Mhm.
doing this. They
Yes.
have they have decided that your way of doing this is
Mhm.
let's give it a whirl. And you're starting to get some of those early feedback, right? Of
Yeah, I
people.
am.
How's that going?
It's going really well. I also something I'm learning in this is that while each organization feels like their problems are only their problems and nobody else has ever had their problems before, it's fascinating how many different kinds of organizations are actually facing the same kinds of communication problems and the same areas that they need to improve upon. And so I'm actually like, I'm like, oh, I've already done this training, but for somebody else, like, fantastic. So that on the work side of things is getting a little bit more efficient. But I really love seeing the growth and getting to check in with the people that second and third and coming up on fourth times where you see where these skills are really starting to um, settle in and really make a difference for them. I also, I'm just really I love to make a difference for people, and so when I get to hear about how work is easier and interacting with clients is easier and having hard conversations as a manager to their subordinate, like, wasn't so bad. It's not the most pleasant, it's not like you enjoy giving tough feedback, but it wasn't this big dangerous lion that you're facing down, it was just like an annoying hard thing. Amazing. You are a human being. There should be things that are sometimes hard to do. It does not have to be a lion attacking you to your nervous system level of hard. It can still just be like, I didn't love this. Um, that's really cool and fulfilling for me getting to see each person and just the difference it's making and those small shifts that are really big shifts. And that's okay.
So this is all well and good if people can hire you and you can, train them because you're right now working primarily locally. Is there anything that you would give people who are like they're in a position where they need to hire trainers to come in and
Mm.
solve some different problems? Is there a is there a way that you anything you can help them with?
Yeah. So if you are wanting to hire somebody or work with a partner to help your team. Number 1, amazing kudos because there are a lot of times that just the benefit of bringing in a third party facilitator to the conversation can help bring the really tense moments and that like heaviness. It just cuts that tension a little bit more and it allows somebody else to come in and ask questions that for them, it's an unassuming question, and for you, it might be hitting right to the heart of the issue, and they're able to kind of help hold that space a little bit easier. And so, 1, pursue, do it. If you, there's a lot of work that you guys can do on your own internally, and getting an outside partner to help with your team adds so much value. I would encourage you to look for somebody who is wanting specifically like, it's very evident that they are looking to help make a difference for you and your team, and they really wanna show up to move the needle in the areas that you are seeing issues with, and that they can sort of talk confidently to that. It doesn't have to be shiny and flashy, it just needs to, um you need to be able to see the connection from where your problems are to kind of what solutions are they proposing and what could that look like. There are tons of different trainers out there. There's lots of different take this assessment and I'll give you this training, do these things. Does it fit? Is that the right puzzle piece for what you're needing? And ask them that. How do you see this training helping solve this problem for us? It's a really great question. I also do virtual trainings, Angela, just so you know. So I was like, not just local. I can go and do this virtually with folks if that is something that they're looking for. But that's something I would encourage. Seek out good partners and don't wait until it's in crisis mode to seek support. This is sort of like we kind of talked about recently, marriage. If you wait till the day before you want to get divorced to go start going to marriage counseling, like that's a steep hill to climb. Whereas if you're like, hey, the trajectory that I'm headed on is not looking good. Down the road, this is going to cause some really big problems. We should fix that now versus waiting till we're in crisis mode because crisis time is a harder time to learn new skills. When everyone's nervous system is activated, it's really hard to acquire that new skill. It is at that point we're in triage. We are in how do we get everybody back to regulated? Now that we are regulated, we can move forward with skills development. But it's kind of tricky to just be like, "Hey, I know that you're like crying over here in the corner. Let me give you some cool new tools." So let's think about, let's talk about asynchronous communication. Let's talk about a reverse brainstorm. Let's talk about these things. They're like, "I'm sobbing right now, metaphorically or physically, and like I don't know that I can receive any of this." So, don't wait till it's in crisis mode. And then on trajectory, if you, the individual, are like, man, I'm not the leader, I'm not the budget manager, I'm not any of these things, I really do want to encourage you. We've said it before, we will keep saying it again and again. When you can shift the direction that you are going, even by 1%, your own personal direction, whether it's your whole teams or just yourself, you will make a difference and you will end up in a very different spot. And there is still hope in only making a 1% change. You do not have to 180 the ship in order to feel that change and that difference. Like we were talking about, 1% difference, you look forward a year from now, that's going to feel so good than no change at all. So, wherever you are, if you're feeling discouraged in your team, what can you do and what can you own and how can you make that 1% shift? And if you are a manager or a leader, how can you help support and lead those 1% shifts for others? That was more than one thing, Angela. You said, what's one thing? And I gave you like 4 or 5 things. Cheese. Sorry. I break my own rules.
One of the things I'm really excited about is that you have been doing some webinars for people on some of these topics to help individuals.
Hmm.
And I think and after the new year, hopefully should be having those up to where you can view that recorded content if you missed out on it the first time. So stay tuned. Check
Hmm.
out the newly revamped Be Freaking Awesome.com. That is the letter B, not BE, and follow along for the trainings that we have available, as well as reach out if you would like some team trainings. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for joining us. Please like and comment and review and send us a message. We love getting them. So you can text us, whatever you need to do. Until next time, we hope you go be freaking awesome.